Welcome back. Still watching Business Morning. To our next conversation now. See, data obtained from the Nigerian Bank Settlement System, NIBS, shows point-of-sale transactions carried out in Nigeria in the first 8 months of the year stood at 4.06 trillion naira, representing a 45% increase compared to 2.81 trillion recorded in the corresponding period of 2020. But the mobile money sector is not without its challenges, from regulatory issues to indiscriminate deployment of POS devices. Well, to weigh on these matters, I have Victor Olojo now, the National President, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria. Great to have you on the program. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So, looking at this data now with the POS transactions hitting its highest for an 8-month period, what do you think drove this?
Yeah, well, again, mobile money and agency banking in Nigeria has come a long way. I'm happy to say that mobile money agents and agency banking partners have played a very critical role in driving financial inclusion in Nigeria. And if you look at the data, looking at 2016, where the data was just about 600 billion, and now, the first half of 2021, we're looking at 3.01 trillion. I mean, that is really massive. And many Nigerians can attest to the fact that we've made financial life easy for Nigerians. Many Nigerians practically can't remember when last they had to walk into the banking hall to make withdrawals and all of those. So we would say very well that mobile money agents have played a very critical role. And we also would like to appreciate all stakeholders, including regulators, CBN, all others, who have made the enabling environment possible.
Yeah, talking about, visiting the bank, because I don't remember when last I used an ATM to actually withdraw money. But what impact will this have on the banks, with the ATM fees?
Oh, well, again, it's a mutually beneficial ecosystem. So, in essence, we are working for the bank. We are working for our operators, we are working for the entire ecosystem. So what happens most times would be a shared profit scenario, where an agent gets a commission, the bank gets a service charge and all of those, So it becomes very easy. Most importantly is the fact that there's been an impact, based on data released by NIBS. We have over 900,000, active POS agents across, the country. So what that means is that lives are getting better. So where issues of unemployment, issues of lack of jobs, well being taken care of by agents, being on the street. However, there are issues also that emanated from the spring up of financial services through POS agents and the likes.
Yeah, because I see a lot of POS kiosk everywhere. Now, how profitable is this business, really?
Oh, wow. I mean, POS business, being an agent, a financial inclusion agent, has been very profitable for so many. But the Nigerian kind of system where people are quick to just jump because they see their neighbors doing a kind of. But, I'm happy to say that many people have made meaningful life out of, POS, going into agency business. So we have persons who earn as much as 15,000 daily. We have bankers who have resigned to go fully into, mobile money and agency banking. The fact still remains that the market is huge. Talking about the informal market, again, is way beyond imagination of any, because we have several factors. If you look at the data released by the Nigerian Financial Inclusion strategy document that was released in 2012, there was a target for Nigeria to say we wanted to achieve at least 70% inclusion rate, and several things were actually put. There were parameters on ground looking at payment, savings, credit, pension, investment, and all of those. Unfortunately, at 2020, this target was not met. But the fact still remains that we've been able to move the needle forward. In terms of the benefit, I would speak a bit about the benefit, because if you are to look at households, an average agent has a household, and agents are able to make a living. I have agents who have built houses. We have agents who have made meaningful life out of this. So again, what we need to begin to look at beyond the numbers is quality. We need to move beyond cash in, cash out. For instance, in the report that was released as of 2020, The target that was placed by the NFIS for insurance was at 40%. They wanted 40% of Nigerians to be able to access, insurance services. Unfortunately, the result was very abysmal. Just about maybe 2 or 3%. So if I to look at micro insurance, micro pension, and all of the likes, I mean, the market is huge. And I like to tell people, for instance, if you take an example of distillers in Nigeria, many of them were only able to hit their gold mine jackpot when they began to make products in sachets, And that's what we've been clamoring for financial inclusion. I mean, an average person in the garage will be able to afford a dry gin in a sachet like 5, 6 times a day. If we have financial products broken down into very small molecules, I believe we'll be able to achieve amazing, amazing results.
All right, looking at some of the challenges in that sector, we have indiscriminate deployment of POSs. How does that work?
Yes, I mean, it's very challenging. Many Nigerians are beginning to complain about issues of either fraud or we have had issues of robbery via POS terminals, and as an association, we're beginning to take very stiff stance in terms of how these POS terminals are being, distributed. We want to ensure that they don't fall into wrong hands. I mean, it's very disturbing. POS business is our source of income, our source of livelihood, and we won't open our eyes to allow people actually spoil the market, where we're feeding on or what our source of income. Yeah, so we've been working very closely with all stakeholders in the industry to ensure that there is a measure of requirements. For instance, in insurance, not anyone can sell insurance products today. You need some measure of certification. So we are edging towards that direction in terms of mobile money and agency banking.
So is it that the bad agents get these POS devices and use it for criminal activity?
Yes, again, that's something we need to look at because we need to sit down and look at the entire spectrum of things. How are these terminals getting into this hands? The question is, are proper KYC done? I mean, those are the issues we need to find out. There are basic regulatory requirements from CBN as to who becomes an agent. Are those requirements being added to when signing up agents? So because of the target by MMOs, banks, fintechs, they just give out these terminals and it ends up in the wrong hands. So what we are doing as an association, for instance, at Amban, is to ensure that we have at least a minimum yardstick as to what are the requirements before becoming a mobile money and bank agent in Nigeria.
All right, talk about Amber now. Your association recently had a 5th national conference in Abuja. Can you tell us, about the discussions and the outcome, basically?
I mean, thank you very much. It was an amazing event, the largest gathering of mobile money and bank agents in Nigeria. I mean, drawn from across the federation, we were able to sit down to discuss salient issues, and thankfully we had proper representations from government, regulators, and other players. I mean, the high points of the conference were issues around financial inclusion, on how to make it get better, on how to serve Nigeria. Our passion is to ensure that at least lives are getting better. I mean, we've seen discussions from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs about making lives better. There is no better party to be discussing or talking to than those of us who deal at the bottom of the pyramid. I mean, we've had issues about, the social welfare scheme and all of that, and people ask, where are these monies going into? There's nothing as impactful as we who are working at the bottom of, we deal directly with the poor people, So in terms of giving out those funds, I mean, the technology is there, it's just distribution. And I believe that if we are able to work constructively, we'll be able to positively affect the lives of Nigerians. And also, we saw the need to self-regulate. I mean, we've started seeing some activities that are not very good for the industry. We've seen hawking of POS, we've seen people transacting on bikes, transacting under trees. So these are things that are not okay with us. And one of the major high points we came up with in terms of our communique is to see how we can self-regulate ourselves in ensuring that the industry is properly sanitized.
What about the technology now? Blockchain technology is a major talking point at this point. We have the e-Naira. Now how does it, come into play in the scheme of things?
Thank you. I mean, fantastic question. I mean, e-Naira, it came as a very good novel idea. I mean, people liked it. But I'm very sure that at the heartbeat of the CBN is to see how Nigerians can be positively affected. But unfortunately, we've not seen very good cooperation in terms of bringing in, mobile money, agents, financial inclusion partners in terms of e-Naira. Again, we are representatives of banks and fintechs in our localities. We don't expect banks to be in all local governments, but you have agents everywhere. And it's expected that at least we should be good ambassadors for the e-Naira. How do I mean? An average Nigerian who comes to make withdrawals, at your point, would naturally ask, please, what is this e-Naira about? And at that point, it's good for us to also be able to explain, the impact of e-Naira. But there seems to be a disconnect at that point. However, we have been, on our own part, be doing all the necessary sensitization as to how Nigerians can plug into, the e-Naira system. So
actually, there's some kind of value chain.
Absolutely.
With e-Naira.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So now, going forward, we've seen this, industry is actually, moving at quite an incredible pace. We've seen Airtel and MTN, they got the PSB license. How is that coming on?
Again, like I say, I tell people, the market is really huge. And I think that is a good omen for us in the industry. I mean, for us to see MTN and others who have gotten the PSB license. Like I say, aside cash in, cash out, we have several other packages. I mean, imagine Okada riders in Nigeria today are able to buy pension products. I mean, my brother talked about the earlier speaker who spoke about, the SDG Sustainable Development Goals and keyed in on number 7. I mean, the fact still remains, for all of those 17 goals, financial inclusion plays a very critical role. So as much players as can come in will be very helpful in terms of achieving, the goal. So for MTN coming in for the new licenses, I mean, huge, and very good for the economy.
So looking at countries like Kenya now and Ghana, with the success of mobile money, what can we learn from these countries?
I mean, thank you very much. Looking at data coming from Rwanda has attained about 93% inclusion rate. Nigeria is still somewhere around 70. I mean, but the fact still remains that we have about 36 million Nigerians who are not financially included, no form of financial services at all. And there's a whole lot to learn from, neighboring countries and other African climes. But the fact, again, is we are making progress in Nigeria. I mean, things are happening. We're happy to see traction. Just alone, the first half of this year, we've done well over 3.1 trillion in terms of transaction. By the end of the year, we'll be looking at 6 trillion, more than 6 trillion in terms of POS, transactions via POS. So we believe that the more we continue to collaborate, discuss, and learn, we'll be able to keep getting better by the day.
Right. It's been quite an interesting year, and going into 2022 now, what do you see coming up in this sector?
Yeah, I feel like 2022 holds a lot of, good stuff for our industry. I'm happy to see more insurance, pension, and other firms coming into financial inclusion space. I'm happy to see that by 2022, we'll see more Nigerians enjoying the dividends of financial inclusion. We'll see more Nigerians being able to afford, insurance packages, pension, even in the informal market. I mean, for me, that's where my heart, those are the ones we are how to save. I mean, those doing the menial jobs, the bus drivers, the conductors, those guys need to be fully plugged into the financial system. And I'm sure that by 2022, we'll be talking about more giant strides than we are now.
Quite interesting. And, still on this, POS agents here, I feel there's some risk to that business. What are those risks?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of risk. And the country we are right now, risk is in fact sometimes overboard. I mean, we've lost well over 5 agents who have been killed this year. All because they're trying to serve and also survive.
Such cash,
Well, again, Yes, I agree with you, because there's also a limit as to what an agent should do. But when the market is huge, and because you run a capitalist economy, you are open to serve as much persons you need to serve. So again, we've collaborated anyways with necessary security agencies. We also advise mobile money agents to ensure that they adhere to the directives as advised by their principals, by the banks, and insurance. And averagely, a mobile money agent should be insured, and also just do the necessary things to keep you out of harm's way.
Quite incredible. Well, we'll keep tracking that sector to see how it grows. We have, as Victor Olojo, National President, Association of Mobile Money Bank Agents in Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, my
Enjoy
pleasure.
the weekend.
Thank you.